Silence. They say it's golden, but when it comes to video games, it can be a very real problem. Now, I'll say up front that I was in two minds about making this video, but Frontier's continued silence has prompted me to go ahead with it. But that said, their recent message did make me hesitate just a little. At any rate, over the past few months, Frontier have been very quiet about both their plans for Elite Dangerous as well as their interactions with the community. Of course, Update 10, released a few weeks ago, there was a small amount of discussion from Frontier around that update. However, in general, it's been very much a case of radio silence. Recently, the Elite community team did address this subject, and I will get to that in just a moment, but first, I want to give a bit of context to the overall situation. So around the middle of last year, Frontier moved towards making regular development updates for Elite Dangerous. The updates discussed the ongoing and future development of the game. They were posted to the official forums on a monthly basis. In addition to these development updates, Frontier also regularly posted an issues report. The issues report kept track of bugs and problems with the game and gave a status update on each of these. You can see an example of this report on the screen right here. Both the issues report and the development update were implemented as a regular feature after the significant problems with the launch of Odyssey, Elite's big paid expansion. These also came as a part of Frontier's drive to improve communication between the company and the player base. The most recent issues report was posted on the 16th of November, whilst the most recent development update was posted on the 28th of October. So yep, quite a while ago. And since then, Frontier have once again returned to their modus operandi of radio silence. That's not to say their community managers haven't been present on the forums, because they certainly have, and some of them in particular have had an extremely strong and positive presence. But as always, any potential problem here is less about Elite's community team, which is actually rather good, but rather about Frontier itself as a company. So let's quickly return to Frontier's recent forum message about communications, and you can see that post on the screen right here, but I'm going to read it out in full on this particular occasion. I want to speak directly about the lack of official streams and reduced communication from our social channels since the start of 2022. I understand the concerns that this has caused and hope this statement goes some way to alleviate them. The whole team are excited to share all of the upcoming content for this year, including new updates, content expansions, and the next major phase in the ongoing narrative following the Azimuth Saga finale. Beyond this, we also look forward to sharing our new streaming format when the series returns as a weekly show. Changes will include new segments, year-round Twitch job campaigns, and a studio quality production once we move back into the office. However, there are several questions that must be answered internally to inform this communication plan. It's important to me that we address key subjects by priority, and when we do that, the information we provide is clear. The team and I are working incredibly hard behind the scenes to gather this information and provide these answers. As always, the team and I are grateful for your patience and support while we wait for the opportunity to share all of the above with you. We will update you with more detail as soon as we can. Now, I've left it a few weeks before addressing this message because I wanted to give a little time to see how things panned out. However, it's now been close to 2 weeks since this message, and the reduced communications and information flowing out of Frontier really hasn't changed. While something may happen later today or tomorrow, or perhaps in the next few weeks, no one really knows. In either event, as of this recording, Frontier's current level of communication certainly hasn't changed. And again, this issue isn't about Frontier's community team, but rather about Frontier as a company. Now, I've said this many times before, but to me at least it feels as though Frontier failed to treat Elite Dangerous as a live service game, despite telling their investors repeatedly that their games are games as a service. Real paradox right there. And this, of course, over the years has led to numerous problems between Elite Dangerous, Frontier, and the community. So, how can a company interact with the community? How can they treat their game? Well, here's two examples of companies that do a very good job when it comes to managing quality games. Microsoft Flight Simulator has regular ongoing game updates, and I've cited Microsoft before as an example here, specifically Flight Simulator. So the updates here are released on a monthly basis. Now they're rather large updates, and yes, okay, Microsoft have massive resources, we all know that. But really, beyond the patch updates is the level of communication and information coming from Microsoft about the game. At any given moment, the community know exactly what to expect and when to expect it. This information is presented in the form of development updates, videos, live streams, not to mention in-depth monthly Q&As with the developers. Yet on the complete opposite end of the spectrum is No Man's Sky. Again, this is a game that has regular updates and are often of a great quality. In fact, these updates are met with praise from both players and critics alike. Yet, whilst No Man's Sky does get regular updates and they're of a very good quality, the communication policy from developers Hello Games is a very different story when compared to Microsoft. Hello Games, instead of communicating with abundance, rather have a policy of show, don't tell. The bottom line here, Hello Games keep quiet. They pretty much say nothing, but always follow this up with delivering quality and doing so without any problems. Now, both of these approaches work very, very well, simply because at the end of the day, players end up with quality content. Players feel as though they are treated with respect and that the developers understand their needs. That's not to say these companies are perfect, far from it in fact, as both have their share of issues, both in the past as well as in the present. However, the problem is that whilst these two companies have very different approaches, they nonetheless have a strong grasp of their game and of their community. Really then, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest takeaway from both Microsoft and Hello Games is the matter of consistency. They are consistent in their approach and understand and respect the needs of their players. So let's return to Frontier. Their last development update was the 28th of October, nearly 4 months ago. Keep in mind that these development updates came about as an attempt to improve communications. And really, honestly, many people at the time said that, well, those new communications, these new and improved communications, wouldn't last. Personally, due to the quality of those improved communications, I thought Frontier turned a new leaf and that these communications would last. Yet, here we are today, and it seems indeed they didn't last. So there's a very real problem with this approach. Every time a promised improvement is made, but doesn't last, well, it goes ahead and erodes trust. Trust is an extremely valuable thing when it comes to a game and its community and any relationship between a company and its customers, in fact. So today, once again, Frontier are needing to internally address various issues before they can talk with their community. This is always the same situation and has been so for year after year. In fact, due to the fact that this happens so often and for such long periods of time, I honestly wouldn't blame anyone for suspecting that Frontier have some significant and huge internal problems. Now, all that said, we know that Update 11 for Elite Dangerous is due at some point. Although again, these details about this are vague. Maybe the update will appear in the next few days, maybe it will appear today, or maybe it will appear in the next few weeks. Again, no one knows. The community team nonetheless are also keen to improve communications. Once again, less than 6 months after the last attempt. Hopefully this time around it will be a significant improvement and one that genuinely lasts on a permanent basis rather than merely a matter of months. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. Maybe they will provide some insight as to where Elite will be heading in 2022. And just maybe, their interaction with the community will take a much needed step up. And yes, for those who are wondering, I haven't forgotten about Odyssey on consoles. But at this point, it's starting to feel that Frontier just might have done.